Hello everybody, welcome back to Ghostly French Colors, and today we're doing something different for this week's video. This week's video is going to be my first ever Dark Souls boss rank game. And for this boss ranking, it's going to be the top 10 hardest bosses of Dark Souls 3. This is including the Ashes of Ariandel and the Rings of DLC. So enough dawdling around, let's dive on it. And for honorable mentions, the hardest boss in the game, the Deacons of the Deep. They just insta-kill you, they are fast and they are highly aggressive. They're worse than Gundyr. Alright, I'm just kidding. The Deacons of the Deep isn't that bad of a fight. My first playthrough, I actually died to the Deacons because I didn't realize their curse bar was infecting me. And personally, that was one of my most confusing moments. I was like, why did I die? Because Dark Souls 3 was my first Dark Souls, so I'm like, huh? What just happened? So, enough joking around, and let's actually start the list. And now, starting at the bottom of our list, Pontiff Sullivan. This fight only depends if you can parry or not. If you can parry, it won't be as hard as Gundyr first time through. But if you don't know how to parry, he can be a real doo-doo, especially in second phase where he goes full JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on you, and he splits into two people. He's like not one, but two. He goes full Dark Lurker. Dang, man. Personally, I really enjoy Pontiff. He's one of my favorite fights. He reminds me of like the Ornstein and Smoke. He's like the mid-game challenge, you know? If that makes sense. And yeah, there's not really much to say. I really like his design. His attacks are fast, but personally, it just depends if you can parry. I can parry, but it just kind of ruins the fight, you know? And in our number 9th spot, we got Aldridge, Devourer of Gods. Alright, hear me out, gamers. First phase is a breeze, but second phase, oh lord. When the insta-kill arrows come down, God, you better be praying that someone's watching you. You better start skedaddling, skadoodling. Personally, one of my least favorite moves are his life-size. The insta-kill arrows aren't as bad because you can run from them. Everyone knows you can run from them. His life size and his big missile beam, crystal bill, whatever you want to call it, that sucks. So he's not really that hard of a boss fight. It's just some of his attacks are just OP. Example, insta-kill arrows. So yeah, there's nothing really much to say about our boy Aldridge, Devourer of Gods. And moving on to number 8. And in our number 8 spot, we got Dancer of the Booty Delicious Valley. Alright, first things first. This is a very controversial opinion to put her this low on the list. Personally, she's not really bad to fight, because personally, I fight her endgame. I'll fight her after probably Aldridge. Probably when I get some dark weapons and dark... Personally, I normally fight her with Stealth Sword's Twin Blades, and I put bleeding on it. And the bleeding stacks up like a Danky King, you know? And then I'll have some dark magic that I get from Kira. And personally, the fight's not too hard, but it's harder than most bosses in the game, not gonna lie. It is a challenging fight. Second phase and third phase are really challenging. First phase isn't that too bad. But she can be challenging if her attacks aren't correct, you know? If there are a bunch of attacks no one likes. So yeah, Dancer's alright. She's one of my favorite bosses. A lot of these bosses on my list are some of my favorites in the game. So yeah, nothing really much to say. So let's move on to our number 6 spot, if I'm correct. And in our number 6 spot, we got Champion Gundyr. Personally, my top 3 favorite bosses of the game. Personally, Champion Gundyr is one of the hardest bosses in the game if you don't know how to... Mostly the second phase. If you don't know how to roll, you're dead. You're a dead man. Because any direction you roll, and you can either get kicked, slash, or any punch, shoulder bump, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this boss is a very challenging boss, and personally, he's one of my favorites. And it's right after, and this is where you get one of my favorite armor sets in the game, the Wolf's Knight armor set. So this boss has a lot of dear to me, and this is my last boss of my first playthrough because I didn't even know he existed. So I hold some near and dear to my heart. So, yeah, that's it for number 6. Moving on to number 5. Alright, hear me out. This is my favorite gank boss fight in all of Dark Souls. Better than ONS. Personally, this is a very unpopular opinion. This or Abyss Watchers are probably my favorite gank boss fight, or Dark Lurker. I do enjoy Dark Lurker, but we're not talking about him. We're talking about Demon Princes and how hard they are. Personally, they have the right amount of difficulty for the beginning. One's not as aggressive, the other is very aggressive. And you just gotta find a way to balance that, and if you mess up balancing that, you're a dead man. Because sometimes they're both, like, one's medium aggressive, one's very aggressive, and if you don't get them, if you don't knock one down too early, they're just gonna keep ganking you to death. Then there's second phase, and Meteor Attack. Meteor Attack sucks, but it's fair. If you can knock him out of it with 2 hits when he starts to shoot into the air, you can knock him out of it. Laser Beam's not too bad. Just the second explosion normally gets me. And yeah, these guys are really tough enemies, and they're scaled for endgame, and it makes sense. So enough dawdling around, and let's move on to number 4. We're already halfway done. And now in number 4, we got the prodigal son of a gun, Nameless King. Oh my gosh, my first playthrough with Nameless King sucked. And then I realized the overpoweredness of Dragon Slayer's Great Axe, the greatest weapon in the game. Most bosses are weak to lightning, so if you're struggling, I recommend using the +5 Dragon Slayer's Great Axe. But we're not talking about how to beat every boss, we're talking about the hardest ones. Nameless King's first phase isn't really a part of the fight, it's like getting you warmed up for the fight, like, I don't know, Rocky, I don't know. Then there's the second phase, and oh my god. Nameless King's grab, like, his grab combo where he does 1, 2, 3, and it's like spear things. I don't know why, I always get caught off guard with that. And that normally runs, and I'm already like a couple Estus Flask out from first phase. Alright, we're going back to first phase, I have to talk about something. Okay, King of Storm's fire attack, where he goes into the air, and he breathes fire down. Personally, this one is worse than Ancient Dragon. That's saying a lot, because I don't like Ancient Dragon. Ancient Dragon's fun, but he's hard. But this is just hard for being stupid, personally. That's my personal opinion, because he goes into the air and you barely have time to run out, and I personally think that's really challenging. And that really takes away a bunch of flask, and then second phase is where he goes, Omae wa mo shindeyu noni. And yeah, there's not really much to say about Nameless King. He's just a hard boss, the prodigal son. Alright, that's it for number 4. Now we're moving into our top 4 bosses of the game. Now on to my favorite base game main boss. The man, the cripples, the legend, I don't know what to call it, Lothric and Lorien. This fight has everything you want. Fast, aggressive pace. It's hard, it's very hard. Personally, Dragon Slayer's Great Axe, as I said, the greatest weapon in the game. Smacks them. First phase, you can get them down super quickly. But personally, I've been trying not to use them in my later, like, New Game Plus 7s. And it's actually really challenging. Lothric's, like, teleportation can either be, like, he doesn't really teleport as often, or he can just spam every 3 seconds, go bam, 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 bam. Full, like, tracer, all that kind of spiel. And at the start of the fight, he teleports right outside the door and he's like, hi. And he just slams down, you know? He just gets absolutely demolished. And personally, I think that's really challenging because you don't have time to roll. And his aggressive playstyle second phase with Lothric's power, magic, all that spewing at you, and is not giving you any rest with his magic homing meats and his, like, soul spear? Whatever. Magic spear? I don't think it's a soul spear. No, not really my corner. I don't really use magic builds personally. Yeah. Lothric and Lorien's just one personally gave me the most struggles, and still it's one of my hardest fights to perfect. It's just so, it just depends what RNG you get, and that's what normally gets me every time. So, moving on to our final 3 bosses. Woohoo! We're almost done. And now on to our 3rd hardest boss in all of Dark Souls 3. Slave Nightgale. Slave Nightgale is my favorite DLC boss, probably in any game. I love Slave Nightgale. Slave Nightgale is very fun. Second phase is awesome. But gosh, is that guy hard? If you don't have your Irothol straight sword, that guy will beat you to death. Beat you to death into a blunt puddle of goo. This man, first phase is the hardest for me because I don't really know his first phase too well. Second phase is alright, his attacks are much slower and not as aggressive. which is really nice. Besides the little discs, the Way of Light Corona, that tech always gets me. And third phase is just relentless, non-stop aggression from Gale. Goes balls to the walls after he finds out the Darksouls inside of him. And fun fact, actually the chorus in the soundtrack for Gale is basically talking about how he found the Darksouls. So I just felt like that was an interesting fact that I didn't put in my Gale video. So, yes, Gale is one of the most interesting designed boss fights. Because with his skulls, when he explodes, those will do damage to you, but if you don't move in time, you'll get hit by lightning. But you gotta be as aggressive as him or you're gonna die, because if you run, there's basically nowhere to run. If you run to the little side, you gotta deal with the Ring Knight too, so it's not really a good situation. You gotta kill him in the arena, you can't leave. So you gotta kill him right then and there, or you're dead. So yeah, we're moving on to our final 2 hardest bosses. Woohoo! Alright, hear me out. If the entire boss fight was third phase, this would be the hardest boss fight in the game. But no, first phase, you can gank Frida with the Dragon Slayer's Great Axe, and if you have 4 people, you can gank her to death. It's amazing. But in all seriousness, this is one of the best. This is probably on the level of ONS personally for me. Not as good as Demon Princess. Demon Princess is very fun, but this is a gank fight done right, like ONS and Demon Princess. Personally, this is a very hard boss just because third phase. And since second and first phase would basically wear down Estes, it's like Nameless King. Then the actual fight begins Frida. And her attacks are way too quick compared to everyone else. It reminds me of Lady Maria from Bloodborne. Her attacks are just way too quick for Dark Souls gameplay and combat. So she's basically kind of unfair, but in return you can't get backstabs, and she's easily staggered. So it's really nice. I personally think this is a fair boss fight, but not too fair, if that makes any sense. And moving on to our number 1 spot, with basically everyone can understand why I put him here. The man, the myth, the legend, Dark Eater Midir. Dark Eater Midir is one of the most overpowered bosses in the game. His HP rivals Ancient Dragon, and his damage output, oh god, that's not fun. 2 shots you. Laser beam attack, god, that's awful. Second phase laser beam attack is like, hey. Then you got the purple semen, all that kind of spiel, and it just wraps up into one big accordion of a boss fight. Don't get me wrong, this is one of my favorite boss fights, but dang, this guy will whack your booty if you aren't careful. And at least he doesn't do ground attacks like what Ancient Dragon does in Calamite, all those dragons. And Sin's probably my favorite dragon fight. I really like Sin. Yeah, but this Dark Eater Midir is hard. I normally Pestilent Mist him to death because I'm too lazy to actually get up and hit him. I just Pestilent Mist, run in, run out. But dang, he hits like a truck. He's aggressive. And his fire attacks, dang, you get hit by that, you're better off than dead. So yeah, Dark Eater Midir is personally one of my favorite hardest bosses in the game. And just want to say this is all my personal opinion, and it's not really 100% fact. It's what I think is the hardest bosses in the game. So yeah, see you next time. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time on Ghostly French Toast. Bye.